Whoa, whoa!
Why are you playing lawfare?
I don't know. It's just talking at me. Um, uh, um, Whoa! There we go. Okay, I've gotten rid of it. Um, Folks, and we're live. It is Monday, July 14th. It is Bastille Day. So I know you were planning to storm a prison today just randomly, but this is the day for it. It is 8:01 a.m. We are late, momentarily late because of a random playing on my computer of Lawfare Live from Friday, which wasn't supposed to happen, but just happened spontaneously. I was planning to start with La Marseillaise, it being July 14th and all. Holly, Mike, do you have any lore about La Marseillaise?
I can't hear myself think. It's so loud.
Yeah, had I known we were going to start with this particular song,
It's a lot, then.
probably would have. Yeah.
Had you known we were going to start with the song?
Had I known we were going to start with the French national anthem, I would have sent you the clip of the soldiers singing it in Renoir's Grand Illusion, which is actually one of my favorite scenes in any film ever.
Yes, well, it would warm my father's heart to hear you begin with a Grand Illusion reference, Mike Feinberg, new co-host of Dog Shirt. So that scene, which is mercilessly stolen in Casablanca,
Yep.
is in fact one of the great scenes in all of cinema. And of course, Grand Illusion, for those who have never seen it, is a completely spectacular movie.
Never seen it.
The end of which is stolen. I think homaged to is the right word, in the last episode of one of the seasons of Le Village Français.
Le Village Français.
Yes, where
there is also. Oh, there's
no,
also.
Go ahead.
There's also an homage at the end of John Sturgis's The Great Escape.
Yes, it's the same. It's actually so at the end of Grand Illusion, the heroes, such as they are running across a field, and the German soldiers have them in their sights, and one of them pushes the gun out of the way and says, "No, they're in Switzerland." Because this is World War I, where there was still some honor. And once you've crossed as a prison escapee, once you've crossed that line into neutral territory, honor among soldiers, you get a pass. And let's just say that's not quite what happens in Village Français.
A lot of people
ahead,
do
Mike.
flee to Switzerland, though, in Village Français.
Yes, but not all of them get there.
I am not quite sure that's actually what happened in World War I in real life, but it's a phenomenal scene, and people who haven't checked out Renoir's films in general should absolutely watch that, and probably Rules of the Game too.
Yep. Yeah, they are. And of course, he was the Renoir's brother, and he had some of his eye. So he had, they're incredibly beautiful films, even though they're in, kind of early black and white. They're, not made with modern cinematography, but they're really a visual joy to watch.
Yep.
All of which brings us to the death of the cactus. And, I want to tell you guys a story of what happened over the weekend, because it really, changed my life. And And I think it might change all of your lives too. So you will recall that when last we saw the cactus, um, he was on life support, and he was not doing well, and um, he was, whoops, you shouldn't see my text messages here. He was. Did you guys just get a glimpse of my text messages?
No.
Oh, good. Um, so, he was, Holly had delivered him unto me, for resuscitation, and recharging. And look, here is the image of in the hospital, me, trying to charge the cactus. And I want to tell you what happened when I did this, which was nothing. The cactus did not move. There was the faintest smell of electrical smoke.
So you electrocuted the cactus. That's what I said.
No. I tried to revive the cactus. The cactus was well and truly dead by the time I got there.
How do you know he wasn't just in a coma, and he could be revived with proper care?
Well, you see, you've just made him disappear altogether. And now there is no item selected. I was going to show you what happened to the cactus next. And I'm going to, but I'm gonna have to scroll back for a sec. Is it theoretically possible that the cactus was like in a coma and I finished him off? Yes. I don't think that's what happened. I think he was dead. But anyway, by the time we were done,
release the cactus files.
He is well and truly dead. And no, it was not a suicide. It was a homicide, guys, by Holly.
No, release the files. Release the cactus files.
All right. So here is the cactus, good and dead. And I want to show you how well we treated his remains. First of all, the snowman mourned over him and gave a very moving eulogy. It was silent, unfortunately,
it could only
so
be
no one
heard
could hear
by
it.
dogs.
Exactly. But I'm told it left all the eyes in the crowd dry. And then I'm sorry, moist. Moist, yeah. And then we embalmed the cactus and we wrapped him in a shroud.
A dog shirt, I see.
Yeah, it was important that he be laid to rest in appropriate attire. And then we entombed him. See, here we go, entombing him in a tomb. And this is
that
where...
a roll of carpet or a cat toy?
No, it's a tomb, Mike.
Okay.
And so that was...
Oh!
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Oh,
now.
I hear a little echo, Ben.
Well, yeah, because you see, a few days later, 3 to be precise.
3 days later.
The tomb was empty.
Uh-huh.
And that is because the cactus has risen.
Uh-huh. Okay. First of all, we're looking at a blank screen, but you are a charlatan and a cult leader. You can't just start a new religion like that. Okay. I want to bring the cactus. Okay. Look, everyone, that is not the same cactus. Ben is a charlatan and a con man. First of all, let me point out the differences between the two types. That cactus, let's look at the buttons. They're green. Those little circles on the pot, those are green, but no. And its curses, And the previous cactus did not curse because the previous cactus was raised by evangelical missionaries. And the eyes are close together.
It now has a halo.
The eyes are too close together. That is a different cactus. The buttons on the pot are green. The previous ones are red. I know my cactus. That is not my cactus. Release the cactus files. Expose this man as a fraud. Look, green buttons.
I will just point out that the cactus is back. You all know Holly pronounced the death of the cactus. Now the cactus is back. Yes, its language is a little bit saltier than it was.
Different
cactus. It now has a halo. It didn't used to have a halo. And yes, but look, the snowman is going to pronounce on the truth of the cactus's revival. Watch.
Release the file. You know what? This scandal is, who's on my side, guys? Who's on Ben's side and who's on my side? Let's have it out. Let's have the cactus murder, suicide, con man, resurrection. Let's just have it out. Release all the files. I want a memo on the cactus. Mike, you can do the investigation. You have.
I mean, Mike's friend Dan Bongino knows something about releasing the about releasing the files. So, you know, how do we handle this?
Mike, look what you walked into. You've arrived as a new co-host, and you've just walked into a massive scandal that you have to solve because you have the expertise in forensics.
I have no idea what we are talking about, actually, because having been a recently joined co-host, there's clearly a backstory of which I'm not aware. But in the
that makes you a neutral party.
For the sake of being a good contributor, I noticed that the teddy bear had a CIA
that's a snowman, Mike,
around its neck.
Nice
snowman,
try.
Tomato.
Yeah.
I've got an FBI teddy bear, which I am not particularly eager to give to my soon-to-be-born son anymore, which I am happy to provide to you. And then when we have controversies like this, they could duke it out over dissenting opinions and caveats like they would in any, joint stamped Intel product.
This sounds like a great development.
I think we need an ICA on the subject of the cactus's death.
Yeah, but the important thing is that when there's a change of administration, we'll review the ICA and
make criminal referrals.
Exactly.
About that's exactly the right way to handle it. Okay, we're going to shunt this off to a committee. We're going to order up an ICA. Holly is going to return, and we will show her that the tomb is empty.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break into your house when you're not there, and I'm going to find the other cactus, and I'm going to expose you, Ben. You're going to be exposed as a con man.
Dude, the tomb.
You're going to be on the cactus list. You're on the cactus list. You know it. There's wrongdoing. You're a wrongdoer. You're an evildoer.
You are watching Dog Shirt TV. And it is, as the new, improved, post-death cactus says, a fucking revolution in morning television. And one of the revolutionary features, of which there are many, is that we introduce a new co-host to the audience, to the show, without explaining any of the past lore, so that the experience of being a co-host on the show is like walking into an episode of, Sesame Street without knowing that Oscar the Grouch exists. And another one of the revolutionary features, and as I should have mentioned, there are many of them, is that sometimes the internal jokes of the show spill out of control and take over the entire show. And I spend an entire weekend putting together a slideshow of a dead inanimate object coming back to life, and Holly pretends to be outraged.
I'm outraged.
All of which is a long-winded, like a 15-minute long-winded way of saying that we are not allowed to have fun anymore. But we are allowed to have, fun and games with the cactus, even when he's dead. Uh, Holly, what is on your mind this fine morning or afternoon,
in
as the
Kenya.
case may be in Kenya?
Well, let me just catch y'all up with what has been going on here. It's been exciting, let me tell you. So we are staying in a house near only about 2 miles from the boarding school that I went to, that my sister went to, that her older son graduated from, that we all graduated from, my sister, me, and that her younger son just graduated from today, this morning.
So let's back brief Mike for a minute. Holly is a longtime Africa analyst at CIA who grew up as a missionary. Former,
Yeah.
Obviously.
I'm familiar with the progression.
Yes.
Who grew up as a missionary kid in Kenya and is now is fair to call you an ex-evangelical?
Yes, absolutely.
But is back in Kenya on a like Brideshead Revisited, like return to the scene.
So I don't want to like.
She woke up the first morning, looked out over the campus, and said, with Evelyn Waugh, I had been there before. Oh, yes, I had been there before.
I think if we're going to do an Evelyn Waugh reference for this one, though, it has to be A Handful of Dust. Because that's the one where the protagonist actually does end up in Africa, stranded in the jungles, rereading Charles Dickens aloud with some, no way of escape.
I clearly have some gaps in my cultural knowledge.
Evelyn Waugh is really big at the FBI, so this was a topic
not so much of the CIA.
Constantly discussed.
You know what's big at the CIA, or was when I joined, is that movie Team America. That was huge. It does not age well. Team America. That's a fantastic movie, though. It's so offensive.
I love that film.
It's terribly offensive.
It's the most offensive movie I have ever enjoyed that much.
It's very popular.
Except for maybe...
It's far from the most offensive movie I've ever seen.
Yeah,
but,
so...
No, I said I've ever enjoyed that much.
Yeah. Anyway. So we are only about 2 miles from campus, but the roads around this school's only about maybe an hour and a half outside Nairobi, but it might as well be in the middle of nowhere. That's what it feels like. And it's surrounded by mud and just terrible roads. And so our big drama has been getting up and down the hill to go to and from the school it is a 4-wheel drive, but it's not a good one. And the climax of the drama came 2 nights ago when we got stuck in the mud, hopelessly stuck in the mud in the side of the road at 10 p.m. again in the middle of nowhere, but not too far from the school. So fortunately, after we tromped around and got covered in mud and did useless things like shove sticks under the tires, the things that you do to try to give yourself some hope, someone came from the school and with a massive vehicle and pulled us out. And then we've been doing okay. And I think we're home free now because tomorrow morning, my friend Moses, the safari driver, is coming to pick us up. And he can drive through anything. So this road is no problem for him. And then we're back to Masai Mara. But we have more drama tomorrow because there are more protests predicted tomorrow. We've been dodging protests since we've been here. Been a little harrowing. This whole trip has been pretty stressful, not going to lie.
And just to the protests, for those who have not been reading the East Africa news, the protests have been something fierce.
Yes.
How dangerous has that been?
Well, so all this started last year. I think I've talked about this before briefly on the show in response to a finance bill that raised taxes. But since then, it's just sort of spiraled out of control as the police have responded with violence, and now there's protests of the police violence, and then there's more police violence, and then there's more protests, and we're kind of in a bad cycle. And then there's all sorts of criminal elements that take advantage of the situation. And the problem now is, whereas last year it was mostly contained in Nairobi, which is, you could, avoid the downtown Nairobi pretty easily. Now it is pretty much every major city, every town or city of any size. And it's really widespread. And
so I just want to point out, guys, that nothing about Dog Shirt TV encourages the co-hosts to go hang out in dangerous places.
Can't you see? Kenya's not a dangerous place. This is the thing. So,
like, Dog Shirt TV did not send Holly to get stuck in the mud with violent protests. We did not send Nastia to live under constant Russian bombardment. This is, I just don't want you to think that it is dangerous to become a co-host of, because that'll give Mike all the wrong ideas.
Well, the natural question is, is one of the benefits of being a co-host personnel recovery insurance? Like, are we going to get a bunch of,
I don't have any
ex-JSOC operators to, fast rope in and rescue her if need be?
No, yes, but if I died, Ben will just buy a new one and pretend it's the same person.
The cactus objects to that characterization. No, so well, stay safe.
Well, and it breaks my heart because,
and
I hate to
if
even
you get stuck in the mud, like your foot, and you can't get out, remember, struggle. That's what you want to do.
Because the shoes are the priority. Yeah.
Right. And the struggle is the point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can I just
Good
say
advice for any dangerous situation?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't maintain your cool. Just
don't
freak
maintain
out.
your cool.
Yeah.
Flail, freak out, and make sure you get video of it, because it's good content.
Honestly, I really hate to even talk about this because I hate Kenya to get a bad image at all, both because I love it here. I have spent so much time here without any problem at all. I still consider it, I still feel safe in this country, and but also, more importantly, I have my dear friends whose livelihoods depend on tourism here. And that's in fact why I was here in the first place. Was I brought a group out to try to help my friend's Moses's new business that he started. And so it really, really pains me to even talk about it, but nonetheless, it is a thing that is happening here. And and I have some concerns. I think we're going to be okay tomorrow. We're driving to Masai Mara tomorrow. We're going to get up super early, and I think we're going to be fine, but it's a little dicey.
All right. Well, stay safe. And I will just say plans are afoot for the retaliation event against Politics and Prose.
You're going to get me blacklisted permanently, aren't you, Ben?
No. It's really we haven't decided yet whether we're going to do an event just on the sidewalk in front of Politics and Prose with a big with their banner, with their logo in the frame. I think that may be the way to do it.
I think that could be a bridge too far.
We haven't decided whether we're going to do that or whether we're just going to take over the cafe, downstairs, and do the event from there. But Holly will be doing a book reading at Politics and Prose, whether they like it or not. Stay tuned for all of you who are local. And of course, we will live stream the event. In fact, it'll be a special Dog Shirt TV episode. So, Mike, what is on your mind this morning? You had quite a weekend.
I did. Went I went up to DC for a fundraiser for Justice Connection on
A- And for those who do
on
not
Saturday
know
night.
Justice Connection, what is it?
Justice Connection is a nonprofit organization that was recently founded to provide pro bono legal support, job search assistance, and free mental health counseling to any DOJ employee who finds themselves being put in a perilous position for blatantly political reasons or being fired for having worked on certain investigations. I'm going to go ahead and assume that the audience of Dog Shirt Daily is an audience that regularly consumes the news, so they can extrapolate what exactly is going on and why this is needed. But yeah, there was a small fundraiser. It was a group that offered me assistance when I went through my little saga about 6 weeks ago. And I'm trying to help them now with, they're really plugged into the DOJ main justice alumni crowd, the AUSAs and the trial attorneys. I'm trying to help brainstorm ways that they can better reach out to the law enforcement components of DOJ.
Right, and just for those who don't know, the law enforcement components and the uh, attorney components, and many of the law enforcement people like Mike are also attorneys, but in this capacity, it's useful to think of, the cops and the prosecutors as very separate communities that certainly interact with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But when a bunch of justice people say justice, uh, DOJ, they generally do not mean the FBI. And when FBI people say law enforcement, they don't mean prosecutors. And so getting, you know, even these communities in exile in useful uh, coalition with one another is actually always a bit of a project.
It is. And the other thing is, a lot of current FBI employees, not just agents, but, analysts and professional staff, they're pretty worried about the security of their communications. And as evidenced by what happened to me, how connectivity with political undesirables might be construed. So we're really working on ways to make more secure channels for individuals to reach out in a semi-anonymous fashion. More to
And
come on that. Yeah.
yeah, and what um like what sort of person was at the fundraiser this
So
weekend,
I'm
and why
actually
wasn't
I'm,
I
I'm actually going
invited?
to avoid that topic entirely for the reason I just sort of articulated, but it was well attended.
And why wasn't I invited?
Because you are not nor have ever been a DOJ or one of its components
Because you're a
employees.
cactus
Yeah, so
murderer
that
and a fraud.
and a
Yes.
charlatan.
Mhm.
Um, uh, well, I just want to say that I feel left out. And no, I'm joking. Um, uh, yeah. So you went to this
Yeah, so I
fundraiser.
went to DC. I got there about a half hour before the fundraiser, went to the fundraiser, um, went back to my hotel afterwards, went immediately to sleep, woke up, did a hit on MSNBC's Sunday morning show, and then came back home. It was a quick turnaround, and honestly, like I don't love making a 4.5 hour drive each way, just for a 16-hour trip. But with the birth of our kid coming up, my ability to do this is going to be pretty limited soon. So I figured I would get it in as much as I could before then.
So
Um,
what is on your mind this morning? You don't have violent protests outside your house, or
I've had what to me at least is a fascinating morning. Um, for the entirety of my tenure in the FBI, I was not on any social media whatsoever. But a couple weeks ago, now that I'm starting to work on writing things for the public and I need to promote that somewhat, I did sign up for a Blue Sky account. And, you interact with people on that platform. And
Yep.
I've always been a pretty active music fan in terms of purchasing stuff, finding new bands, going to concerts. And there was an account that kept interacting with me with the name Jesus Jones in the title. And for those who don't know, who aren't of my generation, Jesus Jones was a British band. They're still around. Their heyday was when I was in high school. I mean, they had some number one hits. And, we've been posting back and forth on each other's pages about different bands, and they've been liking stuff. And I discovered this morning that it's the actual band. I thought it was somebody who just used the name as like a clever handle. But no, I've been corresponding with the keyboardist on a pretty regular basis.
Okay.
So
and, this is the band I saw when I was in high school.
I think
so
Mike is
was,
too cool for this
so
show. Okay, let's just review. He's friends with Jesus Jones. He's doing MSNBC hits. I don't know. I think he's too big for this show.
Well, we'll let him figure that out over time. So I think actually the way that social media mucks with who counts as a celebrity and who you can and can't interact with is really interesting. So back in the heyday of my Twitter account, all kinds of people used to interact with it. John Legend and once people interact with you, that is, if they follow you, then you can DM them. And so you end up with these weird relationships with very famous people. And then to some people, you are that very famous person, right? Like, because they're, oh my God, Ben Wittes just liked my tweet, and so you have this, when these platforms are working right, which Twitter long since stopped doing, it does create these remarkable conversations between people who wouldn't ever be in touch with one another. So my favorite example of this is Holly and my friend Marichka, who's a Ukrainian activist who sometimes comes on the show, and she organized or helped organize a tour by Ukrainian wounded veterans who are musicians called the Cultural Forces. And one of them, actually, who's not wounded, this was a wounded veteran, was playing the Metallica song, Nothing Else Matters, on a Ukrainian instrument called a bandura, which is like what happens if a guitar and a harp mate. And Metallica, so she posted this video of him and playing Nothing Else Matters on the bandura, and Metallica retweeted it or shared it or whatever the and that stuff, like social media is awful and it's a cesspool and whatever, but it does still have that really cool quality where you can like tweet things or send things to people who sometimes I send my projections to people in Kharkiv when they're under bombardment, and just people who've been tweeting interesting stuff about what's going on in Kharkiv, and you send a projection of and like it actually is a connective instrument for a lot of people.
So Mike gets Jesus Jones, Marichka gets Metallica. You've gotten all kinds of cool people and have met Bono, which I don't like to think about. Who do I get? I get?
Yeah, but that had nothing to do with
True.
that had nothing to do with
I get Charlie
social media.
Kirk and Elon Musk is who I get.
Yeah, but that was impact. You were trying to antagonize them, and they got antagonized. You can't complain
though.
about
I would
that.
rather be, tweeting back and forth with someone really cool that I like.
Also, so one thing, Mike, that you should know about Holly is that she is a world-class internet stalker.
Really
and
we need more of those. Yeah.
And no, she totally is.
I stalked.
Like she like the entire staff of the Bulwark.
You are creating Let me tell you what happened. First of all, I met the Bulwark people, you included, and Mona and Sarah Longwell, because I got you invited to a French embassy event for the French Village. That's where I met you. And then Mona liked me so well, she decided she wanted to be friends with me in real life. And she emailed me. And then I posted a parody video of the Bulwark, and then they all started emailing me.
Okay. Can I just point out that meeting people by posting parody videos of them and describing yourself in your as a super fan, Bulwark super fan, this is
stalking.
World-class internet stalking.
I'll defend Holly on this one. That's not stalking. I mean, we both worked in components of the intelligence community. That's just a form of elicitation. You're letting them know that the door is open should they want to walk in, whether they're a foreign spy wanting to give you information, or a conservative anti-Trump journalist with whom you could have an interesting conversation.
That's all I know. They all emailed me.
That's just professional.
I don't know. Let's just say, I'll just going to put it this way. Don't get on Holly's bad side.
That's a good advice for everyone, across the board. But
all right. What's on your mind this morning, Mike? When you wake up and you look forward in the week, I have one agenda item this week, news-wise, which actually involves something surprising. But you first.
In terms of the week ahead, as part of this navigating the new world of commentary and research and writing, I have 3 media interviews I'm doing. I'm working on a couple written pieces for Lawfare and one other organization who will remain nameless until they formally accept it. And then on the more enjoyable front, I'm just go to the gym.
Wait, there's something more enjoyable than writing a piece for Lawfare?
I'm one of those weirdos who still collects hard copy media, and
which is hard when there's no hard copy of Lawfare.
This is true. We could fix that. We could make a the
Lawfare
limited edition bound greatest hits volume, private press or something, Folio Society maybe. No, I've got that. I've got a bunch of DVDs I need to watch that have been piling up. Get to the gym a couple times. I'm hoping, just given that my family's life, mine and my wife's life, is about to become a never-ending parade of chaos, crying, and effluvia, to just take advantage of the next couple of weeks.
I thought you were describing the FBI there.
Relax.
You're talking about having a baby.
No, there's a marked lack of effluvia in today's FBI.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos and crying, yes, but they've managed to put a tamper on the bodily fluids.
Yeah. At least, except for the ones that exude from the eyes of Dan Bongino, because he does
Kash Patel's hair gel as it melts in the sun. Yeah, take your pick.
So excellent. Well, I just want to begin the week with a few words of praise for our president. And this is actually in earnest. I spend a lot of time criticizing him. Some of it in, I like to say, just short of vituperative language. Um, and but every now and then, whether it's because a stop clock is right twice a day, or whether it is because no matter how much you try to lick out the intestines of Vladimir Putin, he still
Thanks for the
does,
image. Yeah.
try to go vivid. Um, he still will make you look like a fool. Um, but the president today is going to announce uh, a mechanism for new Patriot batteries to go to Ukraine. And the mechanism is a little bit silly, which is that Europe will buy them from us and donate them rather than, you know, we will get new drawdown authority and give Ukraine weapons, whatever. Um, but this is a huge change from 2 weeks ago when we were cutting off interceptors. And it does, I don't want to say it marks the Rubicon that Trump is crossing, and because, this is the day he became the president or anything like that. No. But I think we should say this is the first major weapons acquisition that he has approved. It clearly reflects real frustration with Putin for not stopping being a genocidal maniac just because Trump asked him nicely a few times, and he lets and it will save a bunch of lives. And so I just want to say, without irony, without um, no, it's not backhanded. And the dogs clearly agree with me. I just want to say, good job, Mr. President. Keep it up.
I do think it's actually really important, particularly when you're a critic of a major political figure, to actually give them credit when credit is due.
I agree.
Yeah, it's a form of intellectual honesty. It makes your criticisms a bit more impactful, and like in
I
general, we should recognize good work.
Look, I am more than happy to fire on Trump's retreats on things like tariffs,
Mm-hmm.
um, on things like trying to think of other areas where he, you know, talks big and then backs off,
Mm-hmm.
or, but like, the Epstein stuff, you want to play Schadenfreude with that. I have no problem with that. But I do think that when you're talking about a situation in which the fate of a country is at stake and tens of thousands of lives depend on uh, whether or not and when and at what level the U.S. continues 3.5 years of policy on supplying Ukraine, and not to mention the further fate of the Western alliance in terms of our relationship with Europe, it is worth rising above that. And I will be as ferocious in my criticism of Trump on days that and weeks and months in which he errs or is stupid or is evil on this subject. But on the day in which we are going to provide a whole bunch of new, by whatever fracacta mechanism, you know,
By what mechanism?
Yiddish word means
Okay.
crazy. Um, uh, you know, um, whatever mechanism he chooses, he's going to provide
Mm-hmm.
more Patriot batteries to the Ukrainians. I feel like on that day, we should say nothing more complicated than, uh, you know, welcome back to the fight.
Yeah.
This time I know our side will win, right?
I
Or
just
it's
don't trust
like,
him.
I don't want to
he
be
could change his
naive
mind
about him,
tomorrow,
but that's right. And the day he does that, we should, say, project something on a spot that is visible
Yeah.
from the White House, let's just say. But not today. Today, he gets a pat on the back without a lot of irony. And I know that there are like people on Blue Sky who will hear me say that and say, Wittes has gone soft on Trump. It's because of people like him that we haven't dragged Trump out of the White House yet and pulled out his toenails and, thrown him to the wolves. And I'm like, all right.
I'm really curious to see what happens to my Blue Sky account when people realize that I'm actually pretty conservative.
You're going to get
trying to
massacred on Blue Sky.
in drips and drabs.
They have zero tolerance. They're like the left, side of the, yeah.
I get it, but I mean, like, look, I'm very much of a conservative temperament, but right now, the only fight I really care about, like the one that I think is sort of the necessary precondition to win before we even discuss the other ones, is the fight for rule of law. And that's not a productive conversation you're going to have on X. So if I want to communicate with people and get into these sort of discussions, Blue Sky is really the only option.
The Rule of Law Coalition, yes. The Rule of Law Coalition is
fragile.
A coalition of the left with all its warts.
Yep.
The center with all
integrity.
Its,
integrity, Ben.
I believe the center has integrity.
I am
what
militantly
it doesn't have is
moderate.
Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There are many, and they all work for the
Berkeley Fletchers are there? Yeah,
they did.
Did the Bulwark just reach 100,000?
They're taking over the world.
So we can actually put a number on it. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me say a word. So I am in awe of what JVL and Sarah
and the whole
have
team.
done. And I don't want any of this to sound like a group. And the whole team. Yeah. And I was one of the people that Sarah consulted before she started the Bulwark, and I told her I am one of the many people who told her this is not a viable. You can do it as a nonprofit. Don't ever think it could generate a real revenue stream. Mm-hmm. And the Bulwark was originally started, as Sarah has said, as a nonprofit, and they had to convert it to a for-profit because they were bringing in so much revenue. Mm-hmm. So I am like, and by the way,
yes, he did,
JVL
and he will say that
agreed with me that this was not this was not a viable proposition from his point of view. He got involved in this because it was a means of rescuing his staff from that had been, decimated at the Weekly Standard. And he thought it would give people a little bit of time to find longer term employment. So, none of them was, thought this was going to happen the way it did. I'm totally in awe of what they've done. That said, let's keep in mind what 100,000 people is. And this is, the point that I make when people talk to me about scaling dog shirt TV, right? Or what we used to call in lieu of fun. We have 33 people watching this live right now.
Oh, but it's just the beginning.
By the end of today, about 1,000 people will have watched or listened to this. So 1% of what the Bulwark is doing. We have about 1,000 paid subscribers.
We can add 3 to that. I think my wife and my
there's
parents
almost as
are
many
now gonna
co-hosts
jump
as
on the
paid
bandwagon.
subscribers.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
you know, we're the numbers keep going up.
Yeah.
But this stuff, if we were very successful,
Mm-hmm.
we could increase this by a factor of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Bongino, the day he walks out of the FBI and announces he's not coming back and goes to being back to being a podcaster, may God grease his path to that, will have, you know, several orders of magnitude more people engaging on day one. And that's a reflection of the relative, like, and I want to say I am much better at what I do than Dan Bongino is at what he does.
You want to know an interesting factoid about Dan Bongino's podcast?
It's terrible.
Aside from that, it's largely unavailable now. He has taken down the overwhelming majority of his web presence over which he has control. Because I very much wanted to link to some of his episodes in the piece I wrote to sort of just give a visceral impact of what he would be like to work for. But it's not there, you know, which is always the sign of somebody who is confident in the intellectual rigor
work, yeah,
and longevity of their arguments.
Yeah. Look, I think his audience doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And we are trying, and the Bulwark is trying to cultivate an audience that does care.
Right.
Now, we're trying to cultivate a micro-fractional version of it. We're trying to sort of lab a conversation that is
cactuses.
Deeper, more freewheeling, more than even, and more cactuses than even the Bulwark is doing. But so like we're a bad example, but the point is that the Bulwark number 100,000, Bongino will lap that by a lot the first day.
But the right 100,000, I mean, that's enough to swing a state. Like, if you get the right 100,000, that could be what you need if you're targeting the right population.
I'm not criticizing them at all.
Yeah.
I'm praising them. I'm saying there is a symmetry problem that we have never figured out the solid center of responsible people, of serious people, of people who don't really care if you're part of the right or part of the left, if you believe in democratic self-governance under the rule of law, the people who take human rights seriously. You know, these are this does not scale in the same way that shouting scales.
No.
And
I thought the cactus would solve the problem that, you know, that's why, you know, and at the snowman, I thought, you know, that would make us very wildly popular.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I do want to say that maybe it is really the cactus's death and rebirth that scales it, because I will point out that in the text, you know, there were only we're only 12 apostles. It's really not until
I'm not going to get into the reasons why. Ben knows them. Holly, I will explain them to you offline at some point, but I could get in real trouble for walking down this particular theological analogy.
Look, I understand. I just want to say, what will scale this is not a gimmick. I all jokes aside, that there's no, like, you know, Ian Bremmer tries to use puppets, and with all due respect to Ian Bremmer,
Team America,
and I love puppets. It's unwatchable. Yeah, well, Team America didn't purport to be about substantive issues, but like, there's no gimmick. Like, this is a problem in the polity about what the consumer demand is for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and I choose to not try to fight it, just serve the audience that is not, but never forget when you're congratulating the Bulwark for getting to 100,000 that the decimal point there is in the wrong place.
Yeah. Could I move a little bit away from seriousness to take issue with one thing you said?
Yeah.
I'm going to defend the use of puppets in political advocacy. The most effective criticism of Thatcherism, I think, and I'm a stalwart defender of Thatcherism, was the TV show Spitting Image, which was nothing but puppets.
Not to mention the Israeli version of that, Hartufim, which is a hilarious
I believe in puppets.
puppet show.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in puppets.
Yeah.
But I just want to say Ian Bremmer's puppet show, it's not that good.
Like, can I make a totally tangential plug for puppet media?
I don't think we can stop you.
That has nothing to do with politics. Everybody, all right. So everybody knows of the director Peter Jackson largely through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Hobbit trilogy, which is best forgotten, and to a lesser extent King Kong. His first movie was sort of satire of Sesame Street or the Muppets called Meet the Feebles, which is one of the foulest, vilest, most obscene puppet shows you will ever see, and it is utterly hilarious. Like, I don't know how available it is these days. I mean, I saw a VHS
like Dan Bongino. He took it down once he became respectable.
But if you like the sort of humor, for example, present in Team America or South Park, like Meet the Feeble, like it's the only movie you're ever going to see that features Muppets doing heroin in a comedic fashion.
That is a fabulous movie recommendation. I am going to see Meet the Feebles. Holly, do you have any final thoughts before we
I was just going to say on Blue Sky, because we got off on Madame Guillotine, talking about Blue Sky, and then I don't know where we went on a large detour, but going back to Blue Sky and Mike being on Blue Sky and the sort of the most trouble I've gotten into on Blue Sky is taking on the people who claim the 2024 election was rigged. And there's a lot of those on Blue Sky. And I have no patience or time with that. Like on the other side, that's like, if you want to get me like going with the progressives, you bring in that kind of nonsense and I will not tolerate it. So.
For the sake of my own health, I have resolved, I've probably got like one political or IR posting for every 4 or 5 pop culture postings I've got. I will not engage with anybody in the comments on the political postings. That's just a red line I drew for my own sanity. I will absolutely interact with people on the non-political ones, which is great because I get to meet Jesus Jones and get reposted by the Paris Review. Like that was that. There have been 3 high points. I'll just quickly say, like, one was meeting Jesus Jones. One was getting reposted by the Paris Review because in a weird fashion, they're responsible for my counterintelligence career. And the third, and I think you're friends with her, Ben, is having something liked by Anne Applebaum, because my visceral hatred, and this isn't sarcastic, my visceral hatred of Marxism in pretty much all of its forms was really shored up by the work she did before I joined the FBI on the Soviet system and the Iron Curtain.
Time.
Interesting. So yeah, Anne.
DM from Anne Bobblebaum. But then I replied and then she moved on to something
hitting
else.
The big time if that's happening. Yeah.
Yes, we know. You're so fancy.
I went to Anne Applebaum's birthday party in Castle in Italy. So
Lucky
you
you.
know,
And I met
so
Bono. I met Bono one time.
I'm
And
just
I'm a
cooler than you
cactus
both.
fraud. Yeah.
It
Okay.
is it is not
The fake
it is
cactus.
9 o'clock. The cactus with his halo is smiling at you. The cactus loves you. And we will be back tomorrow. I think we're going to have a very cool guest. Uh, uh, but we have to see if we publish her piece today. If we have her publish her piece today, we will have her tomorrow. If we publish it tomorrow, we'll have her Wednesday. These are the things that try men's souls and that, require the huge staff of Dogshirt Daily to be ever on the lookout for the next bump in the road that's going to cause scheduling issues. Folks, I don't know who the guest is going to be unless it's
Not
tomorrow
me.
and it's, Emily. I don't know who the co-hosts are going to be. Never know who's going to show up.
I have, I apologize. I will be at an online yoga lesson.
Yeah,
tomorrow morning
with the estimable Sophia, who should come on. Sophia should come on Dogshirt TV. It's been a while, but look, you'll be there,
The fake
and I'll
cactus.
be there, and the cactus will be there.
Yeah.